If you're new to investing, you've probably realized there's an absolute minefield out there with information, different platforms to research, and it can all get a bit confusing. In this video, we're going to completely simplify that and give you 5 simple steps and platforms which you can use to find different investments, do some research, and have a look at different analyst reports. Now, I'm also going to explain my process and what I use each platform for. I think all of these platforms have their advantages and disadvantages, and I take what works well from each platform. So let's get into the video. Now, the first platform we're going to have a look at is Yahoo Finance. It's a great way to start off doing your research, as you can have a look at a multitude of different stocks as well as different financial metrics as well. Now, we can obviously make this as simple as we can using these steps of how I look at Yahoo Finance, because I don't use it for all of my research. So as we head over to Yahoo Finance, we're obviously going to be bombarded essentially with a ton of information. Okay, you don't need to use all of it. So we have random news articles here. We don't necessarily need to read them, as well as, advertisements, right? So what I like to do, always come on here with a purpose, and today we're going to be having a look at Apple. Just type in Apple stock, for example, in the top, and we'll be met with the summary page. Now, on the summary page, again, we don't have to use everything on this page. What we'll be focusing on mainly is having a look at the market cap, the beta, PE ratio, and earnings per share. Now, earnings date is also a great way, because this is essentially meaning that we will be able to see when Apple will report its next earnings for the previous quarter. Okay, so if we was to look at these statistics as well, it will just go into a bit more detail about these metrics, and it will also show us some statements about the income statement, the balance sheet, as well as the cash flow statement as well. Now, with all of these numbers here, like I said, we don't have to use all of it, and I think that's the key. We can obviously get tricked up on thinking we have to use everything, but that really isn't the case. I just like to keep it simple, use some of these metrics, and then use other platforms to go into a bit more detail of what I've already built up on. So we're starting to paint a picture and build a picture. There is a few more things as well that I like to use Yahoo Finance for. Simply by clicking on the financials tab, we can see information about the income statement, the balance sheet, and the cash flow statement. Now, I'm not going to go into too much detail on this video, but we will be able to see how much the revenue is growing, for example. So we can see from 2020 to 2023 that revenue has grown, and we can obviously see the net income as well, which is grown as well, right? Now, lastly, for Yahoo Finance, I like to use the earnings tab to keep a track on when the company's going to report its next date of earnings. So as we can see, the next date for Apple to release its earnings is on May the 2nd, and they've got an EPS prediction, an estimate of 1.5, right? So it'll be interesting to see if they surpass that, or if they don't surpass it, which is obviously possible. But just by looking at the company's history, Apple pretty consistent. They always seem to surpass their earnings. Now, the next website that we're on is simply Wall Street. Now, this is probably the most user-friendly platform out of them all, as it's very easy to navigate this platform, and it very clearly tells you different metrics and different statistics that the stock has. If we scroll down, we can have a look at the valuations as well as the share price against the share value. Okay, so we can see analyst reports, whether they think that the company is undervalued or overvalued. We can also have a look at past performance, past earning performance, whether the company will potentially meet its earnings or potentially grow within its earnings, as well as the revenue and expense breakdown. So it's a very easy way to dissect where the company is obviously generating revenue, so what type of region the company generated revenue, and where the cost of sales and how much gross profit that the company is essentially earning. Now, one of my favorite metrics is having a look at the management sector, because it shows us who's actually in charge, and management is a very important metric when investing into a company. We can also see how long the CEO has been within the company. at the end of the day, these people are running the company on a day-to-day basis, right? So we can have a look at who's actually in charge. Right now it's Tim Cook, obviously. We can see how long he's been at the company. Not only that, scrolling down, there is information about ownership of the company and what type of insider transactions are happening. So we can see who sold shares. In this case, nobody's actually bought shares. However, this doesn't necessarily mean it's a bad thing if people are selling shares. It could just mean different types of profit taking. However, it is a great overview to have a look and really build that picture and that story around your general idea. Lastly, we can see through Simply Wall Street ownership and the breakdown. So we can see most of the stock is actually owned by large institutions, as well as the general public, which own over 35% of the stock. Now, another website that I like to use is CoinMarketCap. Now, this is a great website because of the visualization tools that it has. So again, looking at Apple, it does give us some information about the market cap as well, and it also gives us some nice charts as well to look at. Not only that, if we head over, click on more, and for example look at the earnings per share, we can see year by year changes of the earnings per share in a much more graphical manner. So the information is displayed much more nicely, as we can see the general growth and the trend visually, and I think it's much more easier than just having a look at Yahoo Finance. That's why I like to have a look at different websites such as CoinMarketCap. Now, similar to Yahoo Finance, we can also see the changes of revenue growth throughout the years. So again, it's just another way to visualize and have a look at the growth within the company using these different charts and the different metrics that they have. Now, another platform that I like to use is a platform called Warmine. Now, with all this information here, we have probably gathered it from our Yahoo Finance, CoinMarketCap, and as well as Simply Wall Street. So I don't necessarily use these metrics here. What I like to do is I like to scroll down and I like to have a look at the news. Okay, so there are sometimes different news articles that come up here from different websites like Yahoo Finance or Bloomberg, but I like to use Warmine because it brings all of that data together into one place. So you're not going on to different websites. It kind of brings everything together, and you can have a read of different events that have happened within either the industry or the specific company that you're looking at. Now, lastly, probably the most interesting website is Dataroma. Now, this website allows us to have a look at some famous investors and what they're actually invested in. So it's updated in real time. So we can have a look at Bill Ackman, Michael Burry, and of course Warren Buffett and what he's invested in. So if we go and click on Warren Buffett's profile, you can see that most of his portfolio is invested within Apple. We can see all the companies that I've invested in, whether he's reduced any shares, added any shares, and all of this data like there, which is pretty interesting to see. You know, one of the greatest, if not the greatest investors of all time. You can have a look at exactly what he's invested in. Now, if you found any value in this video at all, please drop me a like and subscribe. I've also listed all of the websites that we've spoken today in the description down below, so feel free to check them out for yourself.